I had options at each of those vectors, right? Do I just say, throw my hands up, Lord, this is too much? Or start almost from, below ground zero?
Follow the Leader features dynamic women entrepreneurs in their journeys to becoming a success in business. This podcast is an inspirational space for entrepreneurs, future entrepreneurs, and thought leaders as they share their keys to success. I am Chanel Christoph Davis, the CEO and founding partner of the largest woman and minority-owned sales tax advisory practice in the country, Davis and Harmon, LLC. Today we have the guest leader in the chair, Miss Avis Yates Rivers. She is such a dynamo, and I'm so excited I finally snagged her to have a conversation with her. She is the CEO of Technology Concepts Group, Inc., TCGi. Avis Yates Rivers sits at the helm of a multi-million-dollar company that she built from the ground up. TCGi is an asset management and procurement solutions provider. In 2017, TCGi was deemed the third fastest growing woman-owned business by the Women's Business Organization and a New York-based advocacy and education group for women entrepreneurs. And in 2020, TCGi was named Supplier of the Year in Class 3 for the Eastern Minority Supplier Diversity Development Council, which is an amazing accomplishment. In 2019, TCGi purchased BigVar, which provides the company access to IT equipment and software. So as a value-added reseller, TCGi has forged strategic alliances with key OEM partners in order to afford their customers the highest quality IT products. They offer a full catalog of IT hardware and software, and they have relationships with several mobile device providers, HP, Dell, Lenovo, and Cisco. And they also provide state-of-the-art cybersecurity architecture solutions and enterprise-to-cloud protection, including security information and event management, security operations center, a software as a service product, and cloud access identity management. Even at a young age, Avis Yates demonstrated a unique ability to envision possibilities and recognize opportunities, and credits growing up with 5 siblings in New York City as an important period in her life that prepared her well for the challenges that lay ahead. Avis released her book, Necessary Inclusion, Embracing the Changing Faces of Technology, in December 2016. This book not only breaks down the challenges of recruiting more women and people of color in the tech industry, it also provides a roadmap to solving the ever-expanding problem. So it basically focuses on diversity and inclusion. Welcome to the show, Avis Yates Rivers. How are you?
Oh, thank you, my dear. I am fine. I am fine. Thank you for inviting me to have a conversation with you. I've been looking forward to this for months.
Yes.
For months.
Yes, we've been
Yes.
trying to make this happen, and we finally got it together. I want to talk about how we met
Okay.
and our connection. I met you in Singapore, of all places. We
All
had to travel
places
around the world,
to
right?
meet each other.
To meet
Yes.
each other, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That was an
Mm-hmm.
amazing event. And we just kind of became fast friends. We were like a moth to a
Yes.
flame. We were attracted to each other. And
Yes.
yeah, we've been connected ever since. So how are you doing?
I am doing well, my dear. When we think back about 2020 and the pandemic and the racial tension and civil unrest and toxic political campaigns and shenanigans, it's a wonder we're all still standing.
Yes,
But there, before the grace of God, go I am still standing. We are not just standing, we are thriving, we're expanding. It's lots of exciting things going on. So I just am thankful. And I'm at peace. There's a lot of things we can control, and we need to, have that wisdom to understand the difference between those things we can and cannot control. Because, like you, my dear, as an entrepreneur, we think that it's up to us, right? To
correct.
control it, to fix it,
Absolutely.
to maneuver and manipulate it until it works. And so that has been my biggest pandemic lesson is, step back, exhale, and enjoy the ride, because there's nothing you can do about it.
It's nothing you can do about it. I thank
That's
you for
right.
opening up that way, because some of the greatest lessons that I'm still learning, and that I learned in 2020, we're now in 2021, is also that you have to basically slow down in order to hear and take in the lessons.
That's right. That's
I
right.
think
It's
that we
hard to
were,
find the lesson when you're flailing around and rowing the boat and changing directions and pivoting. You can't hear anything.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So we've had to
Mm-hmm.
really learn how to be still and be faithful and to slow down, because we were literally moving at the speed of light.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the last time I spoke to you, you said, you were going to, we had just met in Singapore for a Dell conference, Entrepreneurship Women's Conference. And I talked to
Mm-hmm.
you at the end of the year, and you were like, well, I'm about to hang. I think you said Shanghai. I don't know where you were going. You were going somewhere. No, you were going to Australia.
No, I was going to Amsterdam.
Okay, okay. See, I knew it had an A in it. I'm like, why are you going? We just got back from. So yeah, we were
I
literally.
think I had been to Australia before I met you in Singapore, but I could be wrong because I did go to Australia.
It
But
may
I
have
think,
been Amsterdam. It may have
yeah,
been
my last
Amsterdam.
trip, my last global trip was Amsterdam after we met, I do believe. Hmm.
I mean, we just were moving and shaking and
Yeah.
grooving all over the
Hmm.
world, which is amazing,
Hmm.
right? Like
It
if
is.
only our
Thank
ancestors would have known.
Man, let me tell you, can you imagine our grandparents and great
No,
grandmothers looking at these brown girls working our magic and being invited? We don't just go, we are invited.
we
I
were
was
summoned.
invited to speak in Sydney. I was invited by Dell to go to um, Amsterdam. And then I think it was also a Dell trip that took the in Singapore, a Dell
Yeah,
trip
we.
that took
That's
me
how
to
we were there.
Amsterdam. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I like it when I eclipse 100,000 air miles a year. And
Oh
I was
gosh.
running a little
Here
short
she
in
goes.
December. And I'm like, where can I go? I need X number of miles because, I got to stay at that upper rung. I like it when United Airlines knows me by name, where I sit, and everything else. What?
This that diva flex. This is how she. This is when we had the conversation right before the end of the year, and you're like, "Oh, girl, I have to keep this platinum status. I can't be." You
I
made
gotta
me
keep my
laugh.
1K status.
What
Yes.
you said? I can't be in general population. I died. I literally died. I said, "No, you didn't." She was like, "Girl, I can't." The air
That's,
the air back there is different than every. I died. I said, "Yes, diva. Yes."
and you,
So
you know what's funny is my baby child, my son, will look at me like, "Ma, okay,
you're doing too much.
bring that down. Just bring, how your children just bring you right back
Yes,
down.
they do. But
Just,
we earned.
Ma, let's
No,
shut that down."
we earned this. No, I'm here
That's
for it,
right.
and I loved it. You gave me life. I said yes, yes. I loved it. But I
I
want you to
used to
tell
tell
me.
people, I'm not going behind that curtain. I'm not going back there. I don't know what's happening behind that curtain. I can see what's happening up in these 4 rows up here.
I love it. That was the best flex ever. Because I have aspirations in life. Okay, so I aspire, and I'm not. I know people say this all the time. I aspire to be X, Y, Z. I aspire to be, but I need women in my life that give me those markers. Give me those things to be like, okay, she's right. I shouldn't be in Gen Pop.
At any venue. At no venue
I
am I going
loved
to
it.
Gen Pop.
I loved it. So no,
What?
please give me all of that. I need that. So
And you know what's funny is that we can laugh about it because we don't take that all that seriously.
no, not at
But
all.
why not? Why
And
not?
the way that you were gonna get to keep your status was to fly to Amsterdam. Why not? I
Right,
mean, you're like,
right.
hey,
Why
why
not?
not? I ain't
Right.
got nothing to do this week. I
I,
was
I
like, okay,
couldn't I couldn't get it going to LA and back. I
right. It
couldn't
wasn't
do
far
it
enough.
in the US. No, couldn't do it.
So yeah,
And what happens? What happens? The pandemic shuts us down. I haven't been on an airplane in a
yeah.
year,
So you
right?
didn't even get the benefits of having the 100,000. You see what I'm saying? That's okay though. That's okay.
It's okay because they're taking care
Listen,
of me.
they're gonna take care of you. That's right.
That's right.
So I want you to tell me about young Avis Yates. What were you
Oh,
like as a young woman? Because you put in your bio, which I loved, that even at a young age, you demonstrated a unique ability to envision possibilities and recognize opportunities. Tell me about that. What was that? What was the young Avis like?
when my parents, who are my heroes, moved to New York City, of all places, with three young children, I was the baby at 1 year old. They moved from Augusta, Georgia to the Bronx,
Wow.
all because they wanted to find a better life and
Mm-hmm.
opportunities for their young family. What heroism and courage that took, right?
Absolutely.
But of course, they got married as teenagers. That's what they did back then in the South. They had no education, they had no exposure, they didn't know anybody. They just went.
They
And
just
that
left.
really that stays as my beacon, right? Just go. Don't let fear stop you. And so growing up in small New York City apartments, we lived in so many different places because my father was the super. He
Okay.
decided he was going to continue his education, but in the meantime, he had to care for this growing family. We wound it up as six kids. We only had three when we came to New York, but every few years after that, here come another one. But Mama, where you getting these
You
people?
like, listen, we don't have room and time for this.
Two parents, six kids, two dogs. What? Anyway, I digress. There was such little space and peace and privacy that I lost myself in
Mm.
books.
Oh,
And
okay.
there was no technology. Think now, mother has lived. There has been no technology back then. So it was the library that was
Mm.
my refuge, my escape. Every week I'd go and I get as many books as I could carry home and walk home and read all of those books as soon as I could so I could go back and
And
get
get
some
more.
more.
Mm.
And so I was kind of the oddity, right, in the family. No, I don't want to watch cartoons. No, I don't want to play house. No, I want to leave me alone and
Mm.
let me read because I was escaping. I was broadening my horizons through these books and I read everything. I had a voracious reading appetite. And so it was funny because they laugh at me now, my siblings. When we needed to find her, where did we go? In the closet, under the
Reading.
bed, any place
Wow.
she could find some quietness. Even if it's dark, I had a flashlight, right?
Wow.
So that was young Avis. And it just really instilled in me this love of learning, of reading, and of adventure. And so I could see myself in the Drew brothers, no, not the Drew, Hardy brothers,
The Hardy
Nancy
Brothers.
Drew,
Nancy
Hardy
Drew.
brothers, and
Hmm.
all of those other, I'm talking about real young Avis, all of those other books where they were solving mysteries and going on adventures. And so that I went right along with them. And then that just continued through school, went to New York City public school, started my educational career at a community college, City University of New York, because it was either that or nothing at all.
Right.
Remember,
Not a lot of
uneducated
options.
blue collar workers. My father ultimately became the head of New York City Department of Ed's buildings and maintenance department, but that was, 30 years down the road because he
Hmm.
continued to educate himself. But we were close knit. We're still close knit because of that. And we've lost a couple of siblings, but there's still four of us left, four girls. It seemed like four corners, LA, Boston, South Carolina, two in South Carolina. And so we stay very close. And I'm thankful for that
Yeah.
upbringing. There was no entitlement. It was okay, get up, go clean that bathroom, go clean that kitchen, do the dishes. Did you cook some dinner? Pick up your little sister from the babysitter on the way home from high school. That was my life.
You're
It
right.
was
You were
full
contributing.
of
Yes.
responsibility. And thank God for that because that really prepared me well for what was to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I was a nerd
Mhm.
too. Is what we would call them, little young nerd. I was a book nerd. I loved the. I couldn't go to the library because it was too far from my house, but I did. take books from our elementary school library. I always wanted to, I mean, to me, the public library was just magic. It was
It
just magic.
was.
So
It
many
was a magical
possibilities.
place.
Wasn't
Yes.
it? You can
Yes.
read about people all in all different type of economic, social economic circumstances. I could imagine my life outside of where I grew up. I could imagine magical places all around the world. It was just heaven for me.
It
So
was.
I
It
definitely
really
can
was.
relate.
So thank
Yes,
God for the free public library. Our kids
absolutely.
today don't know anything about what's a library. Books? Can I get it on my Kindle, right? Or my
Yeah.
iPad or
Oh,
yeah.
my daughter constantly asks me if she can buy a book. I'm like, no, we're gonna go to the city library that I pay for, and you're gonna find it over there. And she's like, what?
What?
Why do
And
I
I
have to
have
do
to
that?
go and come back
Yeah,
and
and come
carry
back
something?
and check it
Yeah,
out
yeah,
and
yeah.
what?
And
Yeah,
I could be in chapter 3 by the time we do all of that
exactly.
electronically.
But
Yes.
that's what we're going to do. I'm not buying
Yes.
another book. Yeah, so I do. I wish she had that same passion I have for. I just like to be in the building. I think the building is just dope, and all
Yes.
the librarians knew everything. Right? They'd
Yes.
ask you
Yes.
questions. What do you like? What are you into? And they like, okay, I have something
Yes.
for you. I loved it
Yes.
anyway. But we just went
And,
on a
and
tangent.
remember the Dewey Decimal System.
Yes,
You had to be an
absolutely.
engineer to find books in the library.
You have to be like a real smart detective to figure out
That's
where these
right.
books are.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. It was
What?
just
And the little
everything.
cards, we pulled out the drawer and looked at the little cards. Oh my
Amazing.
gosh. Oh my
Amazing.
gosh.
So are you still a ferocious like reader? Do you still read a lot?
Unfortunately, it's proposals, it's
I
emails,
know.
my idea of a relaxation period is to fill my tub with hot water and grab a book and get in there for an hour. Unfortunately, I'll tend to fall asleep. And
Mm,
so I leave the books that I want to read because I have books all up above me, hundreds, many of which I have not read yet. But there are books on my nightstand that I try to read, and
you fall asleep.
it takes months. It
Yes.
took me months to get through Becoming, and now I've got Barack's book on my at the top of my night table, and I don't even think I've started it yet.
I
But it
know.
just, unfortunately, this thing that we do of entrepreneurship, and it's not just that; it's also advocacy. I'm serving, in pro bono and nonprofit organizations just as much as I'm driving business growth. So it leaves
Absolutely.
very little time. The only thing I do commit to reading every day is scripture. Right?
Okay.
That is one commitment. I don't care if it's 11:59. I'm reading it,
Yes.
because that's either how I need to start and or finish my day.
Yeah. The same
Mhm.
thing with me is very sad. I don't read. I've adopted Audible, which people tell me is not the same as reading, but I think that's a lie. I'm reading, okay? Even if it's coming through my ears. I don't want to hear that. But that's the way I consume books now because, like you
Really?
said, I'm working. So
Yeah.
I'm working on a proposal. I'm looking at, going through emails and responding. I'm sending out capability statements and I'm listening to a
Hmm.
book. So
Hmm.
that's the only way I can consume books right now, which is kind of sad, but hey.
Can you really absorb, or are you not distracted by multitasking when you're reading? I've
Um,
not tried it. I've not tried that.
I have. I can absorb it. I laugh. I giggle when I'm listening to a book. Because some of the tasks that I'm doing in a day, it may be that I'm going through my third version of reviewing a capability statement, or going through my fourth, turn on something.
Hmm.
So I'm
Hmm.
not looking at it fresh. There are some times where I do have to shut everything down and just kind of silo myself. But I do try to figure out, even if I'm getting ready for the day, if I'm getting ready to record my podcast and I'm putting on my face, I may have a book on.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
try it. I'm gonna try
I
it. It's
really
just
enjoy it.
I have no mind share left for anything else, unfortunately. I'm trying to multitask with working and calls and watching the trial, right,
Yes.
on the
Yes. Oh no,
iPad,
I
right?
understand.
So
It's just a lot of bandwidth. But one thing I love about Audible, and this is a commercial for Audible, and they don't sponsor my show. But one thing I
well,
love
they
about
need to.
they need to. One thing I love
Yes.
about it is like for Becoming and for Barack's book, they narrate their own books. So
Yes.
you're hearing it
Yes.
from their own
Yes.
voice. And it just,
Yes.
I mean, I just
It
think that
comes to
Michelle
life.
has, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, she's an
Hmm.
amazing narrator. I mean, she should
Hmm.
have gotten the Grammy for it because her book narration, and I'm very, very specific and ticky about narrators. Like if your narration is horrible, I just move to the next book. Her narration was exemplary. So I don't know why
Wow.
didn't get nominated for something because it was amazing. But anyway,
Wow.
back you
Okay.
took us back to entrepreneurship. While we can't read
Yes.
the way we want to, entrepreneurship. So tell me a little bit how you started your career. So you were in New York. You went to college. What was your first career in business? I'm assuming
I
you majored in business.
I did. And my college, we were able to do internships. So while I was going to school, there were a couple of companies in New York City that opened themselves up. This is well beyond internships like we know them today. Think, decades ago. And so Exxon Corporation was one of those companies. They had a very large presence in Rockefeller Center. And that was their New York City headquarters. They had locations in Jersey and, of course, in Houston. But they offered me three-month internships
Okay.
throughout school. And then they offered a full-time position at graduation, which I accepted. I've never interviewed for a job. I've never written a resume. I've
Right.
just,
You
I
just went
just
from one opportunity to the next.
to another, all within Exxon Corporation. They were the number one company in the world, on Fortune. And so there were so many different departments and subsidiaries and entities and things that I could just get totally absorbed in because each one was in a different area.
Yeah, business
I
units.
learned so much. And then in 1980, they pulled together Exxon Office Systems Company. They had invested venture capital in lots of different technology projects. They brought them all together. They put the Exxon name on it. They brought in all of these technology salespeople and leaders from the industry to create this new company. And I went to sell technology on Wall Street. The best time of my life. I could have been
Really?
at Exxon for 40 years. Everyone I met when I first went, they had been there 30 something years, 40 years. People were lifers back in
Absolutely.
those days,
Absolutely.
right? They didn't bounce from one company to another every couple of years. And so I just assumed I'd be a lifer too. If I think about it hard enough now, I wonder whether I would have gotten to the C suite. I probably would have, knowing what I know about myself now, but I sold this technology, this cutting, bleeding edge technology for Exxon Office Systems Company on Wall Street, young African American female. I think that most of the invitations I got to explain what I was trying to do was merely out of curiosity. What? Young Black female Exxon Corporation technology? How does that all work
It doesn't even
together?
work out. Yeah. What are you talking
It doesn't
about?
even make sense. What are you here to sell
You're
me?
talking about
I
the
don't
energy
buy
company,
barrels of
right?
oil. I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
buy barrels of oil. What? And so, yeah, I had a vertical territory, the World Trade Center, lots of companies in vertical buildings, again, before the days of terrorism. I could just go into 120 Broadway and stay there all day
You
because
be
there
there
were
all
thousands
day.
of companies in
Yes.
there, or the World Trade Center or the American Stock Exchange. I could just, especially on bad weather days, I just go in, park myself in a building and just knock on every door. We could do that back then.
Mm.
But this technology, when I talk to young people today about what I sold and why it was so important for companies to buy it, their eyes glaze over, and so do mine. I'm talking about the first facsimile on the market where you
Wow.
had to put your phone in a coupler. You don't know nothing about this here, girl. Put your phone in the coupler, and
Just
the
a little.
thermal paper would go round and round and round. And 6 minutes later, voila, the other party would have the document on their fax.
Okay.
And then it went to second and third generation fax where
Well,
it
why you
only
have to
took
put your
three
phone on it
minutes.
though?
Child, I don't know.
Wait, what? So you have to
The
put the
phone
phone
is
on it?
in a coupler. Yeah, in a
Okay.
box. The
Okay.
phone went in the box so that it would hear
Oh,
the
the
signal,
tone. Okay,
the
gotcha.
tone.
Gotcha.
Yeah, girl, them were some wild, wild west days back then. And
Wow.
I sold those fax machines, and I sold a ton of them because it didn't make sense for you to buy one if I didn't have one.
Right, because
You
how could
know,
we, no one, you gonna
who
receive
you
it?
gonna
Yeah.
send it to?
Right.
Girl, it was the funniest thing. I sold typewriters about the size of my desk, electronic typewriters with one line display.
I remember
Please don't
those.
make a mistake after you've returned off that line, because trying to find your way back in just the right space to hit that letter again to come off with the whiteout. Funny, funny. But
Wow.
that was leading cutting edge back
That
then.
was
That was leading
technology back then.
technology. And I was very successful. Go figure. I
Hmm.
had never even considered corporate sales as a career. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, you didn't see us in those places because these folks had unlimited earning potential and they
Mm-hmm.
made a lot of money.
Gotcha.
And so we got very good sales training from Exxon, and it was just an amazing time. I was very successful.
I
I
could
was
just see
rookie
you
of the year.
now. I could see you now with
Oh,
your shoulder pads and
fun.
just, I could
With
see it.
wait, the silk blouse and the tie, bow tie that I
Yes. The big
yes,
old, pussy bow tie. I could see it.
yes.
Wow.
Yes, and the suits, yes, yes. I remember my first strand of real pearls I bought from my sales manager. Her name was Shirley, and I was her project. I was her protege.
Wow.
I dressed, she had me dressed like her, look like
Wow.
her, and I still have that double strand of pearls from Shirley. It was
Incredible.
an amazing time when I think
Wow.
back of my development and the
That's a
stages that I
book,
went
Avis.
through.
That is
It
actually a
is.
book.
It is. It is. It's my second book. My first book, I had to talk about the lack of us in technology and
Mm-hmm.
why that's important. So I got that out of my system. And my second book is more of this journey because I have to think about it and remember it and then sit
Yes.
back in
And
awe
document
of
it. Yes.
what in the world was I doing
I
back
want that
then?
on Audible. I do.
Okay. I will narrate it or ask Michelle to narrate it for me. How's that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then, okay, so you were a top lead salesperson on Wall Street, which is incredible. How did you end up in entrepreneurship? Because you were being an entrepreneur, actually. And what you were doing for Exxon, that's all the skills of entrepreneurship.
That's right. And you know what? It took me a few years to learn that. Exxon sold that division, fast forward
Right.
5 years, because they really were an oil and gas company. But it was the best 5 years of my life. I could have gone back to Exxon corporate, but I couldn't because of what you just said. I was running a
Yeah,
business.
you can't go
I
back
was
after that.
I was
No.
managing my calendar, my customers, my revenue, my budget. I couldn't go back and sit at a desk
Yeah, you're
and
gonna sit in
do
the
what?
cube after that? Yeah.
Yeah, and do what? Right?
Yeah.
I've found the world now. I've got the world as my oyster. I couldn't go back. And so when Exxon decided they were going to sell that division, it was leaked in the Washington Post. Exxon going out of business. So of course, that's so ridiculous, right? They was
Yeah.
spinning off this one small division that never made any money, by the way.
Oh
But
wow.
we were increasingly not expected to sell anything because who was going to buy from Exxon knowing that they were leaving the industry? And so I started working on my plan, trying to decide, do I go back to Exxon? Do I go to an IBM, Xerox, or Wang, who I had been
Mm.
competing against? I quickly eliminated that prospect. Or do I start my own business? Because this is what I've been doing, like you said. And so I went and I asked my manager for the Exxon install base, and I got it. And
Wow.
so I started calling on those corporations who had invested in Exxon technology. And I started my own company day one of us no longer being Exxon employees. It was January 1st, 1985, if you can believe
Wow.
that.
Incredible.
Yes. And so my first customers were Exxon themselves, AT&T, the New York Times, Hoffman LaRoche. We were providing, and I grabbed some of the other people who were now no longer
Employed.
employed,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially the admin people who had been using the Exxon technology so that I could use them to support customers' need for people to use that technology or to train
So they can
newcomers.
demo, they can train. Brilliant.
Hmm.
Very
Hmm.
smart.
So that's how I started in business with those big companies.
Wow.
And it was just identifying a void in the market. The new company didn't want to have anything to do with that old Exxon stuff. They couldn't support it. They just wanted the install base to replace it.
Okay.
Exxon was leaving the industry. They were not going to be involved in their old customers either. Who was going to continue to
Yeah,
support
nobody,
those
they weren't
customers?
interested. They had already turned the corner. They were like, we're not doing that
Right,
anymore.
right.
We're
So
going
I
back
figured,
to,
okay, here's a window of opportunity. Let me jump through it, because in the back of my mind, and for 10, 15 years later, I kept saying, if this doesn't work, I can get a job. I can
listen,
sell stuff.
listen. That is the entrepreneur's motto. If this don't
Yeah,
work, I can find a job.
I'm very marketable. I can get a job.
Listen, I'll figure out how to put a resume together and it'll be all good. Okay?
Yes,
Somebody will teach me how to
yes.
write a resume. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. I still to this day have never had to write a resume.
Isn't
30,
that amazing?
36 years
Isn't
later,
God good?
all the time,
36
all the
years
time.
later. 36
Hmm.
years. So tell
Hmm.
me about what you're doing now, because your company is in so many different arenas. You're so much more than just selling technology. Now you're in cybersecurity, you're in cloud-based solutions. You're doing so many things. You're acquiring other entities. You're a boss.
Aw, thank you. Well, I decided that long time ago, I did not want to sell equipment, nor after my first days at Exxon, right? Because I don't make it. We don't make it. There's, very little margin in it. Nor did I want to be in the business of bodies, like human trafficking of bodies, if you will. They call it staffing today.
I was like, what? Okay, Stephanie.
So those are just two areas of
I said
IT that I
human
didn't have any
trafficking.
interest. Human trafficking. I didn't have any interest in those.
Hilarious. I didn't know
And
you. Okay,
so,
I knew you were funny, Avis, but I didn't know you were this funny. Okay, go ahead.
look, you have to have a sense of humor to be in business for
You
36
do.
years, right?
You do.
Either that, or you have had a string of nervous breakdowns.
You're
And
absolutely right.
I don't do nervous breakdowns. So
Absolutely.
I have to find the humor and stuff. But thank you for that, because I think I should have been a comedian in another life, or
You are funny.
someplace on a stage with a microphone in my hand. That's where
Yes.
I was. That's where I used to be in another life. But yeah, the today, because of all of the access that I have to other companies and understanding what the needs are, over the years, we have consistently identified pain points
Mm-hmm.
within IT senior leadership. I ask the questions: what keeps you up at night? If
Mm.
you could change something,
What would you change?
what would you
Mm.
change? How would you envision an ideal situation or solution? And so many of our solutions today have been born out of those conversations.
Okay.
When I heard that from a senior IT leader years ago at Pfizer, that he knows he's spending millions of dollars too much on his software licenses every year, because that's like the least of the evils, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to keep them all managed and tracked and everything is very challenging and very difficult. He just goes ahead and pays more than he knows he needs to, just so that he's covered, right? And I
Gotcha.
thought, millions? He said at least 5 million, $7 million a year that is unnecessary to spend. And I thought, hmm. And I went back, and we, over time developed a solution to help companies manage their software license estate, right?
Interesting.
Buying too many is not a sustainable solution.
Right,
And
because you're buying like a bulk of licenses, thinking that you're going to cover your workforce, and you're buying
yeah,
way more than you need.
right. And that's wasted money. And
Mm-hmm.
not buying enough is also not good, because those software publishers will come after you and audit, and then present you invoices for millions of dollars in fines from being out of compliance. So I knew that was an issue that
Mm-hmm.
needed to be solved. And there's quite a few software providers on the marketplace who provide the technology to do it, but you need the know-how of
Yes.
how to do it, what to put in place as far as processes, etc. And so, it's more than just recommending a technology. It's also understanding how to bring about the best results for each and every customer, which is different. So that was an area that a potential customer told me about. Another one was contract, what we call renewals management. Again, all in IT. When you buy a laptop, just think of, you buy one laptop, you're buying a maintenance agreement, a 3-year maintenance agreement with that laptop. If you buy any software, you're buying software agreements with those laptops. Well, those agreements you're paying for every year. And oftentimes, equipment will go out of use. Those agreements aren't going out of use until you turn them off. So
Okay.
again, millions of dollars being wasted every year. Now you multiply that one laptop by 100,000 or 2 million when you're talking about the level of customers that we support. And again, an area in which we can demonstrate immediate value by going in and identifying which contracts need to be turned off, turn them off. And we can actually quantify our
Your
role
savings.
in
Oh,
your
absolutely.
savings. Yeah,
Yeah,
your
you actually
savings.
have numbers tied to what you're doing, which is
Right.
the best. That's the best solution is when you can
Yes.
actually tell the story. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we also have our Tailspin management solution. So these are all on the procurement and supply chain solution side, where companies are really focused on managing and negotiating the big contracts with the big IT providers, think IBM, Oracle, et cetera. And so they spend about 80% of their IT budget with those firms. Well, the other 20% is spent with 80% of their suppliers. So there's a whole bunch of suppliers at what we call the tail, the lower 20%. But if you're spending $2 billion a year in IT, which is not unusual for the companies that we support, then 20% of that is still a big number.
That's still a huge number. Yeah.
It's a big number. And so we have created methodology and technology and processes to automate the tailspin management for our customers. Again, driving tremendous value with cost savings, but also risk mitigation, because you've got all these suppliers. What are their contracts like? Is anybody looking at them, and performance and SLAs and all of that? So yeah, there's a lot to that. And that's another big solution of ours. And then now on the other side, since we acquired the VAR, we're also being able to deliver technology solutions, whether it's in the cloud or whether it's cybersecurity or whether it is, a hardware, software, for the data center, server storage, for the desktop. And so now we're not just managing your IT procurement, but we're also providing some of that as well. So
Interesting.
just areas that have really developed over time, so that our customers, that we can become a larger part of their wallet and their supply chain.
Yeah, you're basically a trusted partner of theirs.
That's
They're,
right.
you're part of their supply chain. So what would you say? I think you've already named a couple key things. What would you say has been one of a few of the things that you've done in your business that has been the key to your success?
Well, I've now managed 2 acquisitions. Our original one was a spinoff from Bank of America back in 2008. And this is where, when you give back into the networks that we're part of as certified diverse suppliers, and become known and serve in leadership positions, when opportunities open up, folks call you. And so I got a call from Bank of America back in late 2007 to let me know that they were spinning off a division, just like Exxon had done years prior. And would I be interested in acquiring it? Because it's self-managed, it was an equipment leasing division. So they called and said, do you want to get into the equipment leasing business? I'm like, I don't know. Tell me more. And so, we talked for a couple of months, and I did decide to acquire that spinoff. It was too small for Bank of America.
Okay,
They were
gotcha.
only doing about 3 million a month. Too small for Bank of America, not too small for Avis.
Okay, I could do 3 million a month. That's not a bad. That's not a bad little bag. That's a good
Not a
coin.
bad little division, right?
Yeah.
That's just going to be that division over there. And so we did it. And 2008 January is when we launched this company because I needed a new entity right in time for the greatest economic recession of
Oh
all
my
time. If you
gosh.
remember back 2008,
Yes,
9, 10. And
absolutely.
so all of the strategy and the big deals and the goals and all of that that I had carefully planned out, just like with this pandemic, through everything outside of my control, just went
Mm,
careened right into a big hole. And so, after all of the challenges that I faced in business over the years, some of them pretty traumatic, like that, like WorldCom, filing the largest corporate bankruptcy in US history, right after I had started a big project with them and was spending money
oh my
every day,
gosh.
and billing it after the fact. And then everything came to a halt. When the company files
Wow.
bankruptcy, nobody gets paid. Trustees have to be assembled to determine who are the critical suppliers, all of that. So that was another big challenge. And the third one was 9/11. Right.
Mm,
Remember, we're New Yorker and business in New Jersey. And I was on the phone renegotiating a 3-year contract with Merrill Lynch when they declared that they were being evacuated, had to hang up. I'm like,
mm.
wait, we're not finished. But
Wow.
airplanes were flying in to the World Trade Center. And it, as a New Yorker, it bothered us more so than you could even imagine. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a New York City subway rider. When that's how I grew
Mm.
up, that's where I went to work, school. The Trade Center you can see from anywhere. So
Right,
you
because
come
it's
up
just a
out of the
beacon.
subway, out from on the ground, and all I had to do was look around, especially downtown Manhattan, which is very dense, and to find my trade center, and I knew which way to walk.
Right,
Right?
right. Because that's kind of like
It
the
was
the navigation point.
it was my North Star.
Yes.
And it was part of my territory when I was selling for Exxon. And so that whole 9/11 situation is still scarred. We still have
Mm,
scars, we New Yorkers, about that. And I'm sure lots of other people do as well. But I lost 30% of my business that day.
mm.
Again, totally outside of my control. And so, but I talk about these things because I want to demonstrate that I had options at each of those vectors, right? Do I just say, throw my hands up, Lord, this is too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
I have no comeback for this. Or do I decide to knuckle down and start almost from, below ground zero?
Mm.
Because we're now going, sustaining big hits. These were big hits,
Yeah, that's massive. The whole country was just in
big hits.
turmoil. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then business is not rebounding quickly enough.
Correct.
So yeah, each time I decided, nope, I don't feel like this is it. This is the end of me. Definitely don't feel like going getting a job now, right?
Right. That
I
would
don't
be
want a
painful.
job. I do not
That
want a
would be
job now.
painful.
Right. So I decided, I don't know how each time I found the strength. I do know how because of my faith, right? These are the
Mm.
times that faith are built for.
Mm-hmm.
What is the point of flexing your faith muscle and learning and absorbing the teachings of our Lord, and then when you have an opportunity to exercise it, you shrink and hide.
Fall
That's
apart.
yeah,
Mm.
that I don't have a mental breakdown in me. So I could
Mm.
have had several of them by now.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I just decided each time, I was just gonna, you know, dig my way back out of this hole and out of this hole and out of this hole. So it's been interesting. It's been a ride, sweetie. It has been such a ride, and one that I would not want to have done, right, or gone
Right.
on. It
Right.
wasn't easy, but the best things in life aren't
Aren't
easy.
easy. Is very
No.
difficult to be an entrepreneur. I think one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I have leaned into, because I've been through 4 recessionary periods. Mine, of course, I'm in the South, so mine I would say we started our business the month after September 11th. So October
Mm.
2001 is when we started our firm. And then, we had Hurricane Katrina. My whole family on both sides are
Mm-hmm.
from New Orleans. So we had
Mm.
everyone evacuate. Had to get my family situated and figure out what's going to happen. We had senior citizens who didn't know what the computer was, and we had to figure out, okay, how are we going to get them there? The
Mm-hmm.
claims filed. It was just crazy. We had that
Yeah.
situation. Then we had the real estate bubble that burst. And so this is like number 4 for us. I think you do build a muscle. You build the strength. You build, you exercise and flex that. Like this time, we knew exactly what to do. We
Mm-hmm.
we had a
Mm-hmm.
disaster, 5 point, 7 point
Recovery. Yep.
plan.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
just okay. Let's start calling all of our vendors and let them know that we need extend.
Yes.
We
Yes.
just start moving.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Do
so
you
we
mind
just
if I go off camera 1 second?
no,
I
go
just have
ahead.
to open the door for someone. I'll
No, go
be
ahead.
right back. I'll be right back. Robert, what about my clams?
Oh,
Where
she not
are
getting no
they?
clams. I want some clams.
And I come out here and I see neighbors saying they're waiting for the exterminator to come from the backyard so that they can give them some clams. I'm like, wait,
Wait now.
wait. Thank you, ma'am. I
All
am
right.
back.
Okay, so
Whew.
listen. Literally, you begging for clams in the middle of the show, which I love. Cause now I want clams. Okay. Anyway, where were we?
This is so
Okay.
funny.
Before, after 4 years of 4 different pandemics, excuse me, after going through 4 different business interruptions, such as now we are dealing with COVID-19, you've built a muscle. You've kind of figured out what processes and systems you need to have in place, how you need to manage a remote team. You just kind
Mm-hmm.
of move forward with your strategic plan and implement it, and you just move on. You don't give
Right.
up. You just learn how to just flex
That's right.
and be resilient through all the difficult moments. So that's the
That's
biggest
true.
advice and tip you can give to anyone who's interested in being an entrepreneur.
That's right. First of all, there's no script, right? What you learn in B school is nice, but the real world experiential learning is quite different. And
Absolutely.
so you're writing the script as you go along, and hopefully you're bringing a lot of others along with you. But yeah, you do have to build your muscles so that you can flex them when it's warranted.
Yes, that
Mm-hmm.
goes with
Mm-hmm.
faith. That goes with leaning on your own understanding, your own life lived experiences, and never giving up. Okay, well, I can't hear you. You muted yourself. Okay,
I
you're
did.
back. Okay.
Yes. I wasn't talking to you.
Oh my gosh.
I know what I was
Listen,
doing.
Diva, Avis the diva. So let's talk about Avis now. You are a New York City girl. You left New York City and moved where and why and how? When you told me this in Singapore, I was like, what? Why? You
I
don't know
know.
anything about insects in the South. How are you going to survive? Okay, go tell
That's
us
why
everything.
Robert's here. Look. You're
Her
absolutely right.
her exterminator is there, you guys, to take care of the bugs. Okay, so go ahead, tell us
That's
all
right.
about it.
I left New York and moved to New Jersey, I want to say 30 years ago. So that was an attempt to improve my commute to Wall Street from where I was living in New York, in Jamaica, Queens. And so that was my first move. And now hubby and I just made my second major move, and that was down to South Carolina. So we decided that we're good on the New York City, New Jersey weather, blizzards, snow,
Digging
cold,
stuff out,
freezing.
insane.
And it was wreaking havoc on my golf game. And I could not have that, because that's my next career.
Right,
To
right.
play amateur golf. So we came down for a conference to Hilton Head Island a couple of years ago, and we both looked at each other and said, this could be it. And so then I started paying attention to the low country, Charleston, Hilton Head, Savannah, that swing,
Yes,
Southeast United States. Really lovely. A rich Gullah history. Our people were the landowners down here. Rich
absolutely.
Gullah history.
My
And
family
the
are from the Gullah
food,
Islands. Absolutely.
yes,
South Carolina, that's
yes.
where we come from. Mm-hmm.
And the food, OMG.
Yes.
My biggest transition challenge is to eat like it's a normal day and not like I'm on vacation, because my surroundings is like it's a resort. I live in a resort. And so that's been my biggest challenge. So yeah, COVID-19 and this relocation, I've got, I got the weight to prove it.
Wow,
So
well, you did it
I
right
gotta
though.
figure
You did
that
it
out.
right though. You relocated
Mhm.
ahead of the pandemic. Nobody knew this was coming. But if you're gonna
Right,
be in a pandemic, I mean, why not be
right.
in where you are?
In paradise, yes, because we have it's in a community, 55 plus community, and trails and pools
Oh
and
my
tennis courts and
gosh.
golf courses. I never have to go outside of our perimeter. I just back my golf cart out of the garage and go to one of our 3 golf courses that I'm playing at today. And
Amazing.
so just love the quality of life. And then the neighbors, everybody's from somewhere. Nobody's from South
Okay.
Carolina. And
Okay.
so it has really morphed into just a wonderful experience with people, with a lot of Northeasterners. So they're used to, interacting with folks who look like us. And, it's just a
It
wonderful
seems really
setting.
really
It's
lovely. I mean, I'm
wonderful.
gonna ask my my producer to leave in your little conversation when you were asking for clams because I just love that. I love that because I want some clams. But anyway, that just I think that's so
And by the way,
lovely.
they just took them out of the water.
Oh
They were
my
in they
gosh.
were out
Okay,
clamming and they on their way back.
you're
Hmm.
literally rubbing it in. Like I'm a seafood connoisseur. You don't even understand. I'm from New Orleans. Seafood is my life. So you're like rubbing it in my face. I
I'm
literally
sorry.
I had the conversation with my husband. I said, it's crawfish season, and he has not boiled crawfish in years. It's probably been about 6 7 years. I don't even know why. He gave up. He's like, it's too much work. It's too hard. I told him, I said, in this pandemic, you're gonna have to. It's not even an option. You're gonna have to get me some crawfish, like, because we're not eating out of the home. We only eat what's in our house, so
Right,
we can't
right.
go get.
So where's he gonna get crawfish?
Well, we can get them like live. We can get them
Okay.
live, and then he will actually, prepare them in the house. That's the only way we can have them right now because of the COVID
Okay.
situation. So I
Hmm.
told him, I said, listen, you have to come out of retirement, honey, because I need some crawfish. Okay. So he promised me that he's gonna give me some crawfish for hopefully in March. I'll
Valentine's
have,
Day.
yes,
Oh,
yes.
March. Okay.
Valentine's Day will be
Valentine's Day.
lovely.
I know
Oh
it
my God. Okay, so
would.
listen, Avis, you didn't brought it. You didn't. You
Robert, we're
didn't.
gonna skip this room. Hmm. Thank you for my clams. Thank you for my clams. If it wasn't for them seeing your truck here, they wouldn't have stopped and gave me clams. You're right. Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Bye bye.
So you have to share with the audience what would be your parting advice, something that you would love for, we're talking to people who may be facing adversity because of the pandemic. They may be trying to decide, what are my next steps? Should I stick in it? Should I let it go? Uh, a lot of women are actually starting businesses for the first time because of COVID. Share with
Mm.
us some advice. What would you tell them?
That it's a journey, right? Don't look for immediate um,
Gratification.
benefits and
Mm,
gratification, because this is the hardest thing I've ever done, right? Um, Being a small child growing up in New York on government assistance, having to rely just on the library, I might have thought that that was hard living. It wasn't. We were very happy back then. Or going through all these ups and downs with the business and challenges. Just remember that there's so many things outside of our control. When those things happen, you have to make some critical decisions. Do I move forward, or do I lateral off and pivot into something else? And it's okay. Whatever your decision is, make it the one that's best for you. Like I said before, there's no script for this.
mm.
I have all of my friends, like Chanel, are business owners. We all have our challenges. I don't care if you're male, female, white, black, brown, it doesn't matter. We all have our challenges. So understand what your end game is. And I'm approaching my transition, right? I'm not going to be doing this 30 more years.
Right.
So even for myself, I'm preparing and managing and investing in my transition. What is that going to look like? What's my end game going to look like? My end game is going to be some entity purchasing TCGi for a very good price, and me being able to take care of my family, all the kids, grandkids, and their children to come for life. And then, really hone in this golf game. And did I tell you that I became a synchronized swimmer
No, what?
since living here? I decided I was going to do stuff I've never done before. And this community has over 100 things to offer,
I
amenities
love
to offer.
it.
And I went through the list, and only three things that caught my attention, of course, were golf. That's why this is a golfer's haven. But synchronized swimming and mahjong.
Okay, mahjong
Don't ask
sounds
me anything
interesting.
else about mahjong other than it's a game that's played with dice, and all the women here play it. So when I get a little bit more time, I'll learn how to play mahjong. I was waiting to join these clubs until after I retired, and then I decided, who knows when that will be, or if it will even ever be. So I'm going to enjoy it now.
I love
So
it.
that's my biggest tip. Don't wait to live. This is a journey. Enjoy your life every single day. And if you're not, then make the appropriate changes that you need to make to begin to enjoy your life. Because I didn't intend to stop this little session and go run out and get some clams for my neighbor, but I did.
You did it. You listen.
No big deal.
And the world's
thank you,
still
Chanel,
spinning.
for your grace.
Absolutely. And we're still here. The world's. I love that. I think that's a perfect way to end the show. And I will also say that you have invited me to visit you. And as soon as I'm vaccinated, my husband and I, we are coming.
Good.
Get some clams.
Because we can go clamming with Sally and Don.
Okay, I love it. I want to meet Sally now. I'm going to write their names down. Where's Sally and Don when I get there? I love it. I love it. But thank you. I want to just thank you, Avis, for being who you are, for being someone that I can look up to, being such an amazing example of what this entrepreneurship journey could be, and what I can look forward to, what's ahead of me. I just think you're fabulous. So I'm so happy we had this chance to spend this time together.
I'm thankful that we both decided to go to Singapore. And
right? Look, serendipity. Serendipity again. You only live once. You have to say yes and just go out and just enjoy your life.
That's right. I agree.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. I so appreciate it.
Yes. You can find all of our past episodes on iTunes, Spotify, and Google, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, and leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Thank you for listening.